Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mary DeCoursey, Chair of the Library, Chair of the Auburn Public Library Board of Trustees. I'm calling our meeting to order at 6:30 on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022. This meeting with the Auburn Public Library Board of Trustees is being conducted with hybrid accommodations in order to allow members of the community to join remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location due to the COVID-19 virus. The agenda that includes the link, the telephone number, and the access codes for this meeting was posted on the Auburn Town website on Monday, May 2nd, 2022. Permit me to confirm that all members of this body and persons anticipated on the agenda are present. Matt Toth.
Present.
Great. Suzette Dowd.
Present.
Jennifer Shea.
Present.
Erica Breesacker.
Present.
John Danilowitz.
Present.
And I am obviously present. Town employees.
Oh.
Did I miss anybody?
No.
Oh, sorry. Town employees participate, there it goes, getting a little feedback. Town employees participating, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jean Collins, Library Director.
Okay, I just don't hear it.
Present.
So it's okay?
It's a little bit of feedback, but I'll try to push through it. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Auburn Cable.
Black knob, you mean? Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Auburn Cable Television. May I have a motion to call this meeting to order? Oh, I guess
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. I want to take a look at the minutes. I apologize for my delay. I sent minutes that Jennifer Shea had provided me for the April 6th meeting, and I didn't have at the last meeting the joint meeting minutes, which I provided for everyone. I am going to need everybody to really look at them because, you know, I copied this when Matt was doing his presentation on video, so I'm not sure that I got the names correct based upon the my auditory skills.
Watching on closed captions.
Matt, did you get an agenda?
Yes, I did. I have
sorry,
that.
he's on- you're on mute.
It's true. There are two names that need
Am
to
I
be
muted?
corrected.
No, we can't hear him now.
We can't hear you.
Huh. I'm
We can't hear
unmuted.
Matt.
Yeah, he's Matt is not muted.
No, he's got his microphone on.
Okay.
If I go up any higher, you're gonna have that reverberation.
You know, let's go up a little higher. I'll just try to push through it.
Okay, I went up a little.
As long as it doesn't bother other people too
Okay,
much.
see, it gets a little bit too much.
Can you, Matt, say something?
Okay, I'll try to say it now. Is that any better?
That's
Yes.
good.
Yes. My question,
There are two
Matt,
minutes.
was, did you get the meeting minutes that I sent?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
Revised.
So can we all just look over the meeting minutes? This was from the joint meeting of March 14th. What we had talked about was, we were talking about the dedication of new structures, not only the library, but it kind of expanded to a larger conversation. But Matt was kind enough to present, and I spoke on behalf of the recommendations that Suzette sent. What I'm especially concerned about is any accuracy in terms of people's names or anything that I misspelled or misrepresented.
Mary?
Yes.
So just
Mary,
kind of
you-
a procedural question. Since this is a joint meeting and we're purporting to provide the minutes of a meeting with us and the Board of Selectmen, in the past, have both bodies had to approve the minutes? Because what I wouldn't want is the Board of Selectmen to separately approve minutes and then have two conflicting
Did they have
minutes for the
somebody
same meeting.
recording? They might.
I believe that I'm not sure if they had somebody taking notes, but I did check with Deb Grimo, and she said, because I thought that perhaps I could use, if they were recording the minutes, I could just use the same minutes. And she said, no, you have to produce your own minutes. So typically Jen does that. She wasn't there, so I watched the YouTube video and I copied almost verbatim to what was being
Okay.
said. So they're a little bit lengthier than I want them to
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
but
No, I
but I
just-
think I got a whole. I pretty much got what was said.
Mary?
Yes, sir.
Mary?
Go ahead.
I have two names that have to be corrected.
Okay.
One, in that third paragraph,
Yep.
Marcia, her last name was R-E-I-C-H.
Oh, see? Okay.
Marsha what?
R-E-I-C-H.
Like Reich?
Oh, Rick.
Okay, Reich.
The ones who went to the Amazon with the kids.
Matt, how about Flaherty? Because I'm pretty sure there's
That's
an H in that.
William, his name is
Oh
William
my God.
Flannery, and it's F-L-A-N-N-E-R-Y.
Flannery, oh Lord, I did
Oh,
get
yeah.
that wrong. Okay, so I had Frank Cassidy, Tom Lawler, Matt, you corrected me, Marcia Reek or Reich, Kevin
Reach.
Flynn, Reach, Kevin
Yeah.
Flynn, Phil with a PH, Phil,
No,
Yes.
William.
no, Phil Parker,
Will's Phil
I believe that's correct, yes.
okay, and then Bobby Baker with an I at the end.
Yeah,
You gave me William Flannery, which I guess I didn't understand that in the audio, and then of course Nan Johnson.
yes.
Great.
That was it.
Okay, great. And then if everybody could just look at the recommendations were Matthew Toth, Jean Collins, Elizabeth Johnson, Dr. Arthur and Martha Pappas, and Nan Johnson. And I pretty much, I replayed it over and over so that I get pretty much the gist of everything that you said in your notes.
You
Because
could
I
have
did not
just
do
called me and I would have given them to
I
you.
know, but I just wanted to make sure I got the minutes out
They're in
tonight.
this pad.
And then the other piece that is important to this is after the bios that Suzette provided, her recommendations were that we would consider, advocate rather for having this information put on a ballot, allowing the decision to be an item for town meetings, and you emphasize it needs to be more of a deliberative process. And you said, this is a quote, "I believe there are many qualified nominations, and why can't we wait for the sunroom to be built and ask the public to be heard on this matter?" And then we closed at 7:14.
I make a motion to approve the minutes
Do I have a second?
Second.
with the corrections.
Thank you, with the corrections. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, can I do a roll call? Matthew Toth, Matt Toth, sorry?
Yes,
Great.
Yes.
Was that Jen or Erica that gave me a second? Sorry about that. Jennifer?
Yes.
You said Erica and John.
Yes.
Very good. So we are unanimous on that. Thank you very much. Good question though, John. I did have to ask because I wasn't sure myself. The other minutes, did I send you the April 6 minutes? I
Yes.
sent them a couple days ago. Can we take a look at those minutes and let me know if there are any changes that we need to make? I'm embarrassed to say that I don't have them in my folder, so I might need somebody to hand me their minutes after they make the corrections.
I hate doing this.
You're on the phone.
I like a paper in front of me.
I read the minutes, I just forgot to print them off in my computer. Do I have a motion, or am I not giving enough time? A motion to approve
You
the
want the
minutes?
agenda?
So
Oh no,
moved.
the minutes of the April 6th meeting.
The March 14th minutes.
So it was March 14th, but then I sent an earlier agenda, and Jen's minutes were on that one.
It was in Mary's May 2nd email,
Yes.
I believe.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not able to pull it up and I'm not able to get online to see it.
There,
Okay,
I think.
thank you.
Nope, no. Oh, yes.
Here,
Oh, wait a minute, here I am, connected onto Wi-Fi. Oh, great, you're awesome.
that's John's, not me.
Oh,
I'm not
John,
awesome.
John, this
I'm
is
still
heavy.
looking.
It's like a brick. Okay, very good.
Good.
We heard the director's report, dedication, BOT surveys. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move that we approve the
So-
minutes.
Great. Do I have a second?
A second.
Great.
I wasn't there.
And
but-
just a roll call. Matt Toth?
Yes,
Okay, Jennifer?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Excellent, and I will agree as well. Thank you, John. That's heavy. Don't go swimming with that in your pocket.
Why is it so heavy?
It's a battery pack.
It is, it is. And the next item on the agenda is the director's report. Jean?
So I assume you all have these, but I'm going to move further away and take the mask off.
Okay.
It's muffled, but
Yeah, thank you.
just going to be back here. Okay, so it's not on here, but I first would like to thank Erica and Jen for their service on the board. It's my understanding neither one of you are on the ballot for May, so I just wanted to extend my appreciation for your services on the board. Thank you. So this will be your last meeting. Also, it's not on
Unless
here.
they're a write-in.
That's right, exactly. That's what I was thinking. But sorry, Jean, go ahead.
So also, I thought I would mention this, even though probably everybody knows that Julie will be retiring in January. I'm assuming that everybody.
I didn't know that till the book sale.
Well, she just announced it at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, so it wasn't.
I'm happy for her. It's great, 7-day weekends.
Okay, so facilities. So this was a little while ago, and I think I forgot to mention it last time. It was kind of a big deal, is that I had the children's room carpet completely cleaned and sanitized, and it had taken me a while to find somebody at a reasonable price who would really do what we needed to do, to have done, and he did an amazing job. And so now I'll probably have that done at least every 6 months, because the children's room, there's babies on the floor and whatever, so he did a great job. He's also the one doing the windows on the outside.
Now, who was it?
So it's pole cleaning. He's out of
Pole, P-O-L-E?
POL. He's just he works, by himself with a couple of helpers. It's not a big organization. He's fantastic.
Is he commercial and residential?
I don't know.
Oh.
You said 6 months, every 6 months you're going to have them come back?
Probably,
Awesome.
yeah, and have the front doors get really, in the afternoon sun, they're horrible, so probably on every 2 or 3 month basis. In the summer it looks really bad. So I finally found somebody. It's been a long time.
Great.
So he does a great job with both, so we'll have him on a maintenance schedule now. The outside ramp, I think I had mentioned this a while ago. There's a back, it's not a regular exit, but it's an exit to the backyard, and it had been missing the ramp. So DPW took care of that. Also in the front, which I did mention last time, is they sort of sanded down the concrete. I don't know if that's the right terminology or not. And somebody who does look out for ADA compliances was very pleased that, I took pictures and we got them to do it right away. She was very pleased at the way it was done, even better than, what they expected. So server electrical outlet, so their new town backup servers are going to be located in the library, but the voltage isn't quite up to speed, so I don't have to take care of any of that. It's a building issue, but the IT director takes care of all that, so I'm just mentioning it. I don't know if I'm enough on camera, but I thought you might all be interested to see. This is the new annual report, and this is a picture from the library taken
that's
by
beautiful.
Molly Hulser, our staff member.
Nice.
So this is the pond out back.
Is she a photographer? Or is
No,
that
she
just-
took it with her phone a couple years ago. I said, Molly, where's that picture of the crane? That was, I wasn't thinking of the annual report, but when Julie saw it, she said,
Oh, the texture,
"That's a
it's
great cover."
beautiful.
It is
So-
And you're
So
really
it's
in a
great.
good shot on
Yeah,
camera.
so she did a good job with that.
It is.
So I thought you might want to see it.
Great job, Molly.
Yes.
Okay, so programs held, we were extremely busy during the school vacation week. 7 programs is a lot, but they were all, just went wonderfully well. They were all filled. It's nice to have the children back in. We try not to cap it too high because I'm still trying to keep the numbers down. But we were extremely busy. Our Earth Day program, which we collaborated with DPW and DDIS, it went very well. There were, gave out T-shirts and litter bags. There was rain barrels and composting and a lot of things for the children. So it went really well. We're already starting to plan what we're going to do for next year.
Can I ask a question? What's a DDIS?
Department of Development and Inspectional Services. Darlene Coyle is the director.
Okay.
Good question. That
She
should
was
be-
apparently a tongue twister too.
Yeah.
So it's good it's got an acronym.
Right. So we continue to do the multiple young scientists STEM programs, and we just started a new session this week as well.
Is it STEM or STEAM?
It's STEM. We did Pisanki, which is the Ukrainian egg decorating. That was filled within a couple of hours, and I had 2 sessions.
Now, when was it? Was it before?
Or so before Easter. So I've already booked her for next year, because I mean, and people were just, I had a long waiting list, I had to close the waiting list too. It was wonderful. We also had Spirit of Fashion, The Gilded Age. She's been for a couple of other programs as well. So in keeping with the environment, and which is our theme, and which should be everybody's theme, and we will be part of our summer reading theme too, is we, a little while ago, we had switched. We give out bags at the circulation desk. People take out, 20 books sometimes, especially children's. But we switched to, I finally found some that I could order in bulk at a reasonable price. So we switched to environmental friendly. They're biodegradable. They're pretty strong, but sometimes we have to give out 2, which is perfectly fine. I just moved that into the budget. So we did switch to that. And on Earth Day, we provided earth-friendly bags for people to pick up litter as well. So kind of doing our part. All of our promotions, when they're finished, we use the backside. Usually they're heavier cardboard, so we use those a lot for notes. And so, we're doing whatever we can to sort of help that initiative. Collaboration, so with the schools, and I did mention this last time, we filled 365 book bags. That was in keeping with National Library Week, and so I worked with the reading specialists at Bryn Mawr, and I did put a couple of pictures in here. I mean, the kids' faces were priceless. So that was very, very well received, and we're probably going to work a little bit together on this summer. We have our program, and they're doing a little community awareness too, which they've done before, but we're going to try to sort of coordinate a little bit of that this summer as well. And so these pictures, I'll probably put a link when I do the next newsletter, because every teacher sent a picture of her classroom, and it's really nice to have that represented. And with permission, so not all the kids were in there. They were only the ones who had permission. They did give me permission to post them. Not on, I told them I don't put on Facebook. It will be on the, probably the newsletter. The Community Reading Day is coming up in May. I'll be reading at both schools. Again, I kind of missed it last year. Nobody could do it because of the mask, so I'm looking forward to it. It's really fun because the kids recognize you. And
Do you know what day it is?
doing it. Off the top of my head, they're in May, so it's different.
I'll
dates
ask
for each
Taylor,
one.
and she'll know.
Summer Reading Collaborative, the Summer Reading Program, just kind of getting started with that. I'm also collaborating with the Senior Center. They want to start a book club, and they asked for my expertise. And, I don't really run the book club at the library. I support it with getting the books and use a little website and all of that. And but they really want some assistance to get started, and for me to do an overview of how people can request books through the library, because we're not going to get them for the Senior Center, what we do for the library.
Just put them on hold if they...
Yeah, I don't think they know how to do it.
I'm willing to
It's
go
an
and
info.
teach them how to do it if they don't know how to do it.
Well, it's I'm the guest speaker at their info session, so
Okay.
probably do it at that time. I think they already think they have quite a bit of interest, but we will see. It's not until the fall. Upcoming programs. So our toddler program continues to fill both days every single week with waiting lists. New STEM program started this week. We're having planting of petunias, so that's coming up. I haven't scheduled yet, but it will be pretty soon. So we want to emphasize, nurturing plants, a little bit of measurement where they can measure some water into the watering can, conserve water, don't just throw it away if you're done watering, bring home a plant in a bucket. So that should be fun. We'll also be doing the petunias and the tomato plant program for adults, for households, I should say, which is always very well received, and people are really happy to get those. The ukulele program is coming up, as is Bemis. It's called the Living Fire Pit Plant, which is a really big red and yellow and orange, and
That'll be great.
interesting. So, author visit, and I thought I maybe would read a little bit this. Dr. Akpong has agreed to do an author visit here, so I thought I'd read a little bit about her. She was born in a little village in former eastern Nigeria. Her educational journey began at the age of 7 when she left her parents to live in northern Nigeria with her brother, who would sponsor her education through secondary school. That's high school there. What followed was 7 years of hardship, which she overcame due to her self-determination and faith. Joy Comes in the Morning is the name of her book. It's the inspirational story of how, despite the difficult circumstances, she managed to not only accomplish her goal, but live her dreams. She is a nursing professor, and she currently teaches at Anna Maria, and she lives in the area. So I thought it would be very interesting to have her come, and hopefully, people will be interested to hear her story. Hands on Nature Bug Hunt is coming up next week. I just promoted that today. It's already full. Hands on Nature will be doing 3 additional programs throughout the summer. Those were funded by the Cultural Council, and we've done this. I think this will be the 4th year. Animal Ventures will be visiting with the animals again from the zoo. It's a rescue zoo. I haven't promoted that one yet.
Is that the one in Stowe?
It's in
Bolton? Brian Brophy works there, former student.
So, and just as a sort of overview, the book club, the Knitters, and the Friends groups have resumed weekly or monthly meetings. Good. Excuse me. Upcoming partnerships, the schools, Community Reading Day, Summer Collaborative, which I kind of just went over. A little bit of a Friends update. We continue to support the Friends, and they're very successful. And even today, we just updated the website for them, took down some things, updated some others during the book sale. We helped out bring tables, got some lower tables so they could put the children's books on there, which worked out really well. We sometimes put things out in the foyer if no one has come in, but they've been really good about coming in to keep up with it. So we do continue to support that. I'm always at the Friends meetings, and my job is liaison, and so advisory on some capacities, but the Friends is a separate entity, so it's really, kind of there for support for what they want to do with the library. We have donations, I skipped one, Museum Pass program. We're up to 29. It's slow going because we have to wait for the passes to come back. This year, some of them are extremely complicated because they're requiring reserved time entries, which means people have to make a reservation at the museum first, and they need a code from the pass, but I'm not giving them the pass until they have a reservation. So it's pretty complicated and time consuming, and there are 6 of them. I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to keep numbers down so people have a better experience, but it's pretty complicated to align the pass and the code, which they might even not get in if they already have too many people at that time. So we're just working our way through it. That's all we can do. They're doing the right thing by
Are
trying
the local museums on the list? Like the Equatorium, Old Sturbridge Village?
Yeah, if you look on our website, there's
will.
an icon there you can go in. So I'm updating the website, updating the flyers, updating all of our holdings, the passes. There's an awful lot to this. And this year, it's quite a bit more complicated with the ones who want the reserved time entry. But I think they're doing what they can to keep numbers down. So we added something else to our website, the staff picks banner. So we update that once a week. Those are staff picks from the staff. It's not just adult books. We're putting YA books and children's books. I always see some fabulous books, children's books coming through, and we read children's books all the time. So it's nice to add those in there as well. We are just
Could those
most
be
of
on
us-
the banner that go downtown too?
I'm sorry.
The sign that you have outside the library for would it be fun to share about some staff picks on that?
There is like
I don't know what all the names are, or some of them if it might be, or hey, there are new ones, check out our website. I don't know, I just think it might be
yeah,
a call
it's,
to come in if there's something exciting there.
The digital sign is awesome, but it's very hard to put very much on there. First of all, people drive by kind of quickly, and then there's the refresh rate. And if you don't have the numbers in bold, if you put too much, it's
Oh yeah,
blur.
I understand you can't
So,
put
yeah,
too much. I didn't know if there's a
loop
big
it?
new release
Well, it
or
does-
the
does
top
loop.
child one that's there, because I know at the stoplight you're always
Yeah.
able to still see from any direction.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly take
It's just
that
it might be
into
nice
consideration. Yeah.
to be here's some ones or topics. I check it out every time. I think that sign was the best investment.
It took me a year to get it done.
I know it was a good investment.
It was a good investment.
Yeah. And even at that, it's another piece of technology that we have. I design them and Dave types them in,
Yeah.
so it works.
No,
But it's, we're always having to make sure we've got the timing right, and every once in a while the electricity goes out, so the sign goes down, and we got to, but it's, thank you.
Yeah, no, I just thought it could be
Better than
another
opening that
way.
horrible door and putting the letters in.
Yeah, it was worth every penny.
It might be just one that you promote a month or something. I don't know, I thought it'd be nice. I love the sign, so.
Yeah. The town is going to 2-factor identification with all emails, so the staff were all getting through that. I just finished mine last night, I think, although I haven't actually tested it out, so. But, you know, we have to stay as secure as we can. Laptops, I think I'm just referring here to, we've had a couple of people who have been wanting to use the history room and to use a laptop for, you know, for presentations or something. And so we do have one set aside for them, and we help them set it up, so that's been helpful to them. We're also ready to update all the staff computers, which is considerable expense. There is capital funds for most of that. So I'll be working with the IT director to do that, who really does the heavy lifting on all that. He's great.
What are you going with? Do you know yet?
It's always the latest one, so.
Do you have a desktop model now? Considering
we
like
won't be getting
a laptop
laptops.
model.
We stay with desktops.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the CPUs, but they've gotten smaller, which is
No, I
nice.
was just curious.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to me really. I was just
It's
curious.
mostly software updates and everything.
They're not Macs or Apple?
No.
They're more expensive.
We did have, I don't have the names, I still have to send these through for approval to the Board of Selectmen, and I don't have the names, but we did get two $25 donations in memory of somebody. That person, the funeral home called me and said the sister would like to know, you know, where to send money if people want to send some. So that was very nice, and I'll write them a letter. I don't have the names because I didn't really follow the protocol yet for everything. And just to point out, the Mastermans had donated the printing on the T-shirts for our Earth Day program. And so I think that's it, and bill schedules, if anybody's
Can I
has
ask
any
a-
questions.
Go ahead, sure.
Can I ask a question on the author event? When you have an author event, do you pay an honorarium to the author?
Yeah,
And is the author allowed to sell books at the
Yeah.
event?
I mean, it's that exception because it's so standard to libraries, so yes,
Sure.
they do.
No, I mean,
And
it's
they
great. I think
they
it's a
usually
great.
autograph them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't help with it or anything, you know, we don't
Right.
involve ourselves in the financial transaction. So
They
that's,
do
I
it
think, all
after
time
the
we would sell
presentation.
anything. We're not selling if they
Sure,
are.
sure.
But that's standard.
Yeah. No, I think
So,
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
And I just had a question. Was the title Joy Comes in the Morning?
I can hold it up to you. Yes.
Excellent.
So we have a copy,
Great.
only about 5 libraries have it, and then she's not like, she's full-time RN.
Yeah, right.
PhD.
Joy comes in the morning?
Joy Comes in the Morning.
I'll send you a link to it if
That'd
you
be
want.
There's one that, it's an author who lives in Northampton. Enough as she is, it's all about improving the self-esteem of middle school girls. It's really, really good. I bought several copies and gave them to my daughters and
Great.
granddaughter.
This one in particular.
It's really good.
You know, her, you know, coming from Nigeria and working, and I had a full disclosure, I do know her. I used to work with her many years ago. That's not why she's the author. When I heard she wrote a book, I contacted her. She's really an amazing person, and to, you know, to start out life, you know, in Nigeria and work your way, you know, to where she is really amazing. She's a really interesting person.
Mary?
Yes, Matt, sorry.
One question I had on the bill schedule was the cleaning, and I think Jean's already answered that question that had to do with that children's room. But other than that, I didn't have any questions on
Great
that.
deal, by the way. The cleaning, great deal.
Great deal
Yeah.
for the cleaning.
Yeah.
Well, this one's not the carpet, it's the windows.
But still, that's a darn good
He's
deal.
very-
Yeah.
I said, you know, keep doing a good job when the sunroom's here.
Is it 2015-88?
So,
Is that,
where are you looking? No.
No, it's
You must be looking at a
195.
total.
Oh,
You're looking
oh.
at a total.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
that's a good deal?
It is a good deal.
I think I'll start doing windows.
Well, also the
No,
windows
he
of the
is.
library are ginormous,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And for this last one, I'm gonna have them clean the windows from our area into the children's.
No.
You know, every once in a while we
It's
try to
great
do
you
it.
found a
It's
good,
crappy. You gotta
a
have
company you like, so.
Just before,
And
before.
professionally
Sorry. Matt, did you have anything else? I thought I understood you
Well,
to say
that
you
was
were
the
all.
only thing
Okay,
that was
great.
it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Jean.
That is great.
Great. So we have for the trustees, questions, new business and old business. Under item A, we have dedication of the APL renovation discussion, any new developments. I talked to Tristan LaLiberty, the chair of the board of selectmen today, and then I forgot to ask him about the updates because I had a specific question about nominating a member of our board and whether they needed to appoint or we needed to. So I just wanted to read what he wrote just tonight at 5:30. He said, "Hi, Mary. So I believe the reason it says the select board is picking the member is because it's a committee created by the select board. So we technically have to confirm the member, but we are planning to confirm whoever the library board nominates. So we won't want to get in your way of picking that member amongst yourselves. We haven't chosen the select board member yet." So I wanted to start out there before we start the discussion. And I didn't know if, Matt, if you wanted to share anything, or any other members of the board in terms of nominations for that, and we could open that up for discussion.
You mean nominations for someone on that committee or?
Naming
Correct.
the-
So
Is it for the naming of the
So it's,
someone?
yeah, it's not just the library, it's, I believe one of the selectmen, I can't remember which one, said it would be great if we had a committee that included one select person, one Board of Trustee member, and then a member of the community at large. And the goal would be not just to dedicate, to, talk about names of dedications for the library, but there are a lot of new structures in town. And that we could sort of, that committee, that would be the responsibility of that committee. And the deadline of the the names that we'd like to dedicate would be June 30th on the town website. But I wanted to bring it up for discussion here if anybody wants to nominate a member of this board, or I just want to open it up for discussion.
Matt, you have something to say, don't you?
I didn't hear that.
Did you have something to say, Matt?
Do you have a nomination for the naming of the structures in town?
Yeah, I did. I sent that in
Yeah.
to Kristen and the Board of Selectmen,
Okay,
and that would the Board of Trustees.
okay. And that would be
Or
the
trustees room, I mean.
I
So
think
that
we're
it would-
confusing. Matt, do you have anyone you'd like to nominate or have any feedback on the committee that they're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
establish
Thank you.
for naming
Well-
random things that are being constructed?
I don't
in
know
town.
who's interested, but I'd be very interested in being a part of that.
Great.
Okay. I would
Second.
second.
I'll do it if something comes up.
So,
I'll be the
I
backup.
want to do a quick vote on that.
No,
So-
wait a minute, June 30th, Ashley's having a baby the 25th. No.
It's just the names being on the website. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
when you're actually meeting.
All right. I'll do it then.
So, Matt, you volunteered, and I heard a second motion from John. How about Jennifer?
Yes, I also said
Erica?
that.
Yes.
And I completely agree. Did I miss anybody? No, I
Me.
did not.
Suzette.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Suzette, right there.
By
Suzette.
acclamation.
So, you are formally nominated as the member to represent the Board of Trustees. Thank you, Matt.
Well, thank
Now,
you.
can he have a substitute if he's in Florida or he's in, traveling the world?
I think the intention is, it's a short term, so I wouldn't think
Okay.
so, but I can find out.
Plus, we're still
Okay.
living in the hybrid world, too.
Yeah, so
That's true.
It's very doable.
You could be having a cocktail by a beach, and totally be fine.
I like the way that sounds. Does anybody,
Only if they have Wi-Fi.
any other updates? I don't know, Gina, do you have any updates on anything related to the renovations or the dedications or any new developments?
I don't necessarily have a timeline or anything. The only update I can give you really is, they have been out to do surveying and they have to do soil testing and so
Okay.
forth.
Okay.
There was a meeting with the town engineers and the outsourced company with me in the library. We discussed pathways and other things. So other than that, it's kind of, I'm not very involved at this point, but they
Okay.
do keep me in the loop, but really they're just doing all their testing and so forth. So Joanna Paquin is the one who's really kind of spearheading it.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else to.
I have
Yes.
I have something I want to talk about.
Okay.
The strategic plan for 2020 to 2025. It's page 7, and I photocopied the page.
Yep.
Did everybody get one? Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I went to the library ahead to make the copies and to get my library book and to talk to Jean. I gave her a heads up that I would be talking about this.
Okay.
The section is measuring and communicating the library's progress. And I'm taking this right from the strategic plan. The town manager and the director of the library were to cooperatively and work cooperatively and establish annual goals for 2020 and 2021. Were these goals established, Jean?
Well, first of all, Suzette, this isn't on the agenda. So for you
It's under
to-
questions for the,
That is much too broad of a topic. You can't really, if you want to discuss this, and ironically, back up a little bit. I actually had started to, just because I wanted to give you a summary because it's the end of the year and last work, and I completely ran out of time. The last few weeks have been 12-hour days, can't keep up. So that was, but Julie and I discuss it. So when this, I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for, so you're coming
Well-
at me just because you said it to me at the library, isn't like that was 10 minutes before we got here. So, and it's not on the agenda.
well, it's right in the plan.
So do you think the question is valid, because it's a question for us to have there, and her question just was, have goals been established?
Yeah, that's fair.
It was a simple yes or no question. I think your response, if I interpreted it correctly, is you've spoken with Julie, and yes, goals have
Had
been
goals
established.
established
I think
for this
that
year?
was the clear
We have
question.
goals established every year.
Okay. Were they communicated to the Board of Trustees and the town residents?
See, Suzette, you're coming at me with, I'm not sure what you're looking for.
I'm just
and
going
you're
right
putting
by
me on-
this.
Well,
I'm
okay, that
reading
has
it.
to be a separate agenda item if you want that to be, it feels a little bit like you're looking for something, and I don't know
No,
what
it's
answer
just
you're
that I
looking
really
for.
want the strategic plan to follow measuring and communicating the progress. We've had 2 years. Now, I know we had COVID and there was a lot of much different, but we haven't heard anything about the strategic
Well,
plan
again,
for those
if
2
you want
years.
this to be on the agenda, and as I said, I actually did start just pulling something together, went through the objectives. There's more than enough.
I know there is, but
To tell, to affirm that we're practically 100% at each one of these goals, and a lot of them had already been, but that takes time to go through and see what the objectives are and how we met the
Right.
objectives. So that's not something I can speak to in this, in
Right.
this protocol. It has to
Well,
be an
I'm just-
agenda item.
asking the questions so that we get, I'm going to
Well, if
finish.
you're-
Jean writes very detailed monthly reports. The reports are very informative, many photos and of all the fabulous programs at the library. The preschool programs are very, very well attended. The school vacation programs are great too. However, the progress on the strategic plan, I haven't seen in 2 years. I've been out of the country and I missed a few meetings, so I may have missed something.
Except, Suzette, I think if you read this section, this is about between the library director and her supervisors, the town manager. This doesn't say that the library director is going to report to the library board or the community. So to be honest, I don't think this is something that we should be
Library director
discussing.
in the library.
Excuse me, Mary?
Yeah, please, go ahead, Matt.
I think I would respectfully disagree with you on that, John. I think what's clear is that was put in there, and it was put in there, it was not easy to get that put in, but it was put in with the agreement of the town manager, that those goals would be, I don't mean that they have to be shared this minute.
I don't expect that either.
Suzette's question is a valid question. Where are those goals, and to what degree have they been met? That's a
Right, I
fair
mean,
question.
it's
But
our chance to brag about
I
what
don't
we've
think
done.
we can get in between the supervisory relationship of the library director and the town manager.
That's not what I'm asking for.
I don't think
We're
I
not
heard-
asking for that. We're asking for
Yeah.
following the outline of the,
I think the simple
strategic plan.
the question really is here, Suzette trying to figure out if we should be having this to be moved to a fuller discussion and asking 2 yes or no questions to Jean.
Right.
Have goals been established? Have those said goals been shared with the community at large and the Board of Trustees? Because then that would go in the other piece. It's
And
not
I
about
believe it's supposed to
conversations
be
behind
in-
the
Sure.
it's supposed to be in the,
Yeah, those may be questions that can be asked, but if we're going by what's here in this document does not say that the library director or the town manager must to make these goals available to the community or the library board. That may have been an assumption that people who are involved in writing the strategic plan may have been operating on, but it's not reflected
Well, it
in
says-
the words on the page.
It says right after the annual MBLC action plan, in addition to submitting a strategic plan, eligibility for MBLC grants requires Massachusetts libraries to submit an action plan by December 1st of each year for the upcoming fiscal years. That's for every year. They must do it or they're not eligible for grants. Now, things are different because of COVID, I'm sure. The action plan with the library director's goals, which are developed annually by the library director and the town manager together, to whom the library director reports. I mean, it's pretty clear to me.
Right. So going back
Well-
to Jennifer's point, I think the questions are, have the goals been set and have the goals been communicated? That's
And
what
I,
you
and I
just
think the
clarified.
answer Jean has shared with us is, yes, there are goals. I think there's probably a unclarity across many parties of whether they've been fully shared in a specific manner that would equate to someone saying, yes, I know this is goal A, or not. And then back to Jean's point, to make sure we have ample time to have the discussion and
Sure.
have it there, that maybe this needs to be addressed in June in a more robust conversation of where that
And
stands.
it's
But I
nice.
think we're all kind of, hey, great, thank you, Jean, for telling us they have been established. But I would think that the consensus is,
Well,
there are different
this
opinions about
this
how
is
much
a
it's
chance to brag about what great things are happening at the library. I mean, it should be published that, yes, these goals have been met, this is how they've been met, this is our action plan, and this is how we've done it.
You're looking for
I
transparency,
think though we need to differentiate between the action plan, which has to be submitted to the MBLC, right, or for eligibility for MBLC grants. So I think that's a valid question to confirm that an action plan has been submitted. Whether or not that action plan then becomes public would be, to me, up to the MBLC. When it comes to the library director's annual goals submitted to the town manager, that's between the employee and their
Right.
supervisor. And there's no role for the library board to get in the middle of that relationship, nor, as far as I'm aware, is there any requirement that that be made public. So.
and John, I don't think we're talking about individual goals for
No.
Jean, we're talking
Right.
about the goals
The
for
goals
the
of the
library.
strategic plan.
There's a difference between
and
your
I-
personal professional performance review goals and efforts and
Right.
piece, and the strategic plans overall arching for running the library and how that comes. Now, yes.
Now, I
unfortunately,
only
the
did
structures overlap.
page 7 because I
It's a
didn't
very
think it
large
was
plan.
going to go this way, but the next paragraph says, each year the library director submits a library annual report. Is it in the annual report this year?
What are you looking for exactly? I'm
The
not gonna
action
have, it
plan.
doesn't have word.
How?
The action plan
how
would not go
goes-
into the annual report.
Okay,
You can derive from reading the annual report of the progress of the library. The action plan, just to sort of back up a little bit, in terms of, and thank you, John, you're right. These are things that I discuss and report to Julie.
right.
And so.
But I'm,
Hold on, can I just-
There is no,
Yeah.
we are completely in compliance with MBLC. A lot of things have changed. A couple of years ago, and this is still this case, as you can see, they're holding moratoriums still on hours and a lot of things. They said, your action plans are no longer valid. You really can't even do any action plans until everything comes back to a more normal state, which we're really not even there yet. So the action plans thing is not, I have submitted every single thing and fully compliant with the MBLC. Those aren't necessarily things that are
but do the people
shared
in
or
town know
published.
that?
You know, it's
Do
not,
we
I
as
don't
the Board of
report the action
Trustees know
plans.
that? I mean, we know it because we're at meetings and we hear what's going on, but it's the public.
Right.
You're writing the strategic plan so that you're telling what things you were working on, what goals you had, and how the steps you were using, the objectives that you had. Now you want to say, yes, this objective has been met. This has been met by doing this. This one's been met by doing this.
And that's what I review with my boss.
So I just want to make,
Well, read page
guys,
8.
I just want to stop this for a second, because first of all, I support your desire for transparency, and it is very reasonable for you to ask questions about a strategic plan that we all communicated and collaborated upon. That's completely
Right, well,
valid.
this is
But-
all the working documents
But I want to go back
for
to,
the strategic plan.
Correct.
This took countless hours.
No, it didn't.
And 11 months of lots and lots of work.
Right.
And now we're not following
but
it.
no, I
And this
agree.
is really the only responsibility we have.
I know, but what I'm going to say is, I hear you, and I support the transparency piece. That's a big piece to me, because what is good public service? It's excellent communication and transparency. It's good governance, and it's quality assurance. That's what real public service is. So I support you. However, I'm going back to Jen's point that the answer was yes about the goals, but that I would move that we would, in the June meeting, I don't know who's going to make up this board at that point, but that would be, we'll follow up with that about the
But
specific questions.
if you go on to this, it should be in the annual report and it should be in our director's reports,
Right.
weekly director's reports. You can just say, this part, in the director's part, this one is under goal 5,
Yeah,
objective 2.
just to be able to communicate.
Just to be able to communicate it.
agree.
Then when they want to see what is it,
I
they
agree.
go to goal 5, objective 2.
I agree.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
please.
Just because all this happened before I came on the board. So
Right.
the goals that you're talking about, are these the ones that, like, we have page 7?
Yeah.
That are
If you want to
detailed
see the
here.
whole thing, you can see it,
Oh,
but
yeah, no,
I
and
need
I
it
have it
back.
at home.
Yeah,
And I didn't bring
just-
it with me.
I just want to hear what Erica has to
But
say.
I was
Okay.
just sort of clarifying in my mind in terms of the goals and then the action plan, does that relate to goal 4, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3?
Right.
And then is an action plan built from these sort of, okay, here's the accessible
Yeah,
way
right.
we're going, okay. I'm just asking that from a
Yeah.
process standpoint.
Yeah, because
so.
we are not involved in
Right.
the action plan.
Right,
piece.
right, right.
We
No,
have, so
absolutely.
the action plan is more the tactical pieces
Yeah.
and the operational
Right.
things that Jean and her staff
Right.
and with Juliet are putting in for the broader speaking goals of
Exactly.
that front.
And I know we're going to pass it, but I feel like we're missing out on something by not doing what the steps are.
What I'm hearing in general is that maybe this needs to be a standing agenda item.
I totally
in
agree.
addition to director's report piece, just a quick status update on how things are going so a discussion can feel like it's being had, because I think that's really the crux
Yes.
of the issue, not necessarily that anything isn't happening or that we're not in compliance, something's not being done correctly, or that someone's not sharing it. I just think it's being shared in different ways, and therefore if it's there as a regular piece, it might make it a little bit easier for everyone to have peace of mind around
Right.
touching
Right.
and saying it's there and having a conversation.
And we just want to be informed as the Board of Trustees. not
I think
just,
it's all in
to
different,
manage it.
different
Yeah.
areas. I think a lot of your reports have all this information, Jean, and we're just saying, wait, tie it to some of these other
Tie it to
pieces, and some
something.
that is what the
I would
conversation is. So I
don't
think a
wanna
future
discuss more of
conversation
it.
would be
It's not
there.
on the agenda, you kind of like blew this right at me.
Right,
But I would say,
My
all you have
intention
to
was
do
to
is
go
look at the
earlier.
director's report
And physical
and line it up.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, I'm at 12 hours every day. This is not something I really think I can manage to do. I do spend a lot of time getting a lot of information out to all of you. You can easily see all the things that we've done. So if you want to line it up with objectives and goals, you certainly could do that as easily as I could, and there are more of you than me. So it's all out there. I provide a tremendous amount of information to the board. And the director's report is the format that I follow.
Okay.
And those are my reports.
So
Mary?
I'm going to move this conversation
Mary?
along because it sort of fits
Mary?
right in with this is a follow-up on the
Mary?
survey. The last time, in our last meeting,
Mary?
I created a survey about library hours, just as a sample survey so that we could start, and by the way, I just want to be real clear, the survey would be something that the Board of Trustees wants feedback on. So at the last meeting, we had very separate questions about days. So Jennifer, Lee, Shay, you made a recommendation to just keep it tight, provide the library hours and a tight question about the library hours. So you see these are the current library hours. Question number 1 is simply, please provide your input on current library hours. Either way. The second one is about the Board of Library Trustees values diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do you perceive APL as inclusive and supportive to all patrons? Succinct, which is what you asked me to write. So I just wanted to have a discussion about this because going back to your point, and I appreciate it, I really do. I think the real question is, are we transparent? Are we communicating what's happening in these meetings out to the community, what's happening in the library out to the
Right.
community? And it is, and going back to my point about inclusivity, does everyone feel informed? Does everyone feel supported? So I, for one, I'd like to get some feedback from the community, for the Library Board of Trustees. Again, I want to be clear, feedback or no feedback, Jean runs the library, and if she decides to hear the feedback and move with a decision that comes from the data, that's what Jean would do, and we would advocate for her to do that. If she decided not to, again, as you said, the town manager is your supervisor, she's the person who does those directives. But going back to a point that was made at one of our joint meetings by, I believe it was Selectman Carpenter, he talked a lot about, in the role of the Library Board of Trustees, our role isn't just to have these meetings and just to communicate with the library director. Our role is to be a liaison between the community and the library, and to be able to make sure that the communication is going back and forth. So I wanted to just end our meeting, the last part of our meeting, just to talk about this particular survey. It's very simple. And
Can I
yeah,
ask a question?
sure.
Is it going to be on that monkey survey? Or,
Yeah, it's something
it's
that-
not going to be like black line.
No.
Okay.
It's literally, you can pull it up with, what do you call it? What's the code?
QR code.
QR code, thank you. And it literally, I can send it to emails. You can do the survey in a matter of minutes. You could use, you basically would take probably 30 seconds to fill it out. But I just want, again, going back to the strategic plan, even if we send out the information and request, we're making an effort to reach out to our constituents and get feedback. If
Right.
they decide, as you made it a point in our last meeting, if people decide not to share, we still made that effort to reach out and do our jobs as elected
Right.
officials.
That's what I want to do.
So again, what do we think,
So
everybody?
what I would say on this is, certainly I have no problem with the Board of Trustees doing a survey to collect information which is for our use,
Right.
without any presupposition that that information will be used for anything else. But on the piece of communication, which was in the last discussion as well, I think we have to also recognize that our primary means of communication with the community, both disseminating information and receiving, are these meetings. And there's a reason why these meetings are open to the public and why we go to such great lengths to restrict all of our deliberations to public meetings, to make it available virtually and in person. So part of, I think, how we should consider these meetings, but now and in the future, is this is our vehicle for providing information to the community. Whether they choose to tune in, read minutes, participate in the meeting is up to members of the community. Similarly, if a member of the community has something that they want to present, we can have opportunities at these meetings for them to provide that. So that's not to say that the survey itself can't prove a purpose, but I think we have to get away from the idea that these meetings themselves aren't the primary mechanism for us to deliver and receive information.
I don't think anyone's thinking that these meetings aren't the primary means. I think the fact is that, as you can see, there is not a soul in this room but us.
Well,
And I'm not saying that that's good, bad, or indifferent, and that it's not a choice. But most people don't want to spend an extra hour or 12 hours or whatever the case may be attending all of the town's various meetings to potentially get the one shiny nugget out of all that information. And in today's day and age, we have technology at our fingertips, and we should be able to utilize that as continual means to do that. There's still a barrier. A survey is not going to reach every single person in town, just like surveys that the town has done for other things at larger initiatives have not reached every single person, but it's giving an effort of saying we're trying multiple means of avenue. We know that this is where those conversations would come. We would be reviewing said discussion. We've had all the strategic plan discussions on that piece, but it's giving us another piece to say maybe that person who can't come here or can't sit and watch this for an hour, because let's be real, an hour of your time watching this is probably not the most scintillating thing to watch. But you just may not have that chance, where this might be an opportunity to come in that, or they may be someone who's new or doesn't know the members of the board and have that connectivity. And because we are trying to be respectful of the fact that it is not a deliberate request to say Gene X do Y
Yeah, that's
because
right.
of this,
That's
that
right.
it's a curiosity of the board of how we
Yeah.
can engage and understand on our end.
Yeah.
We don't want to put barriers in place either for someone to have their general conversations with Jean and her library staff when there were things going on about new programs or initiatives on that front. We want to be mindful of that information too. So I think it's just keeping it open to say, let's give it a shot, see what those opportunities are, but we recognize that this is our means of communication, but we have other things, and the town has utilized surveys in the past for a variety of reasons. Why not try that too, to continue to bring more awareness to the Board of Trustees for the library, to a community who may not fully be aware of all of that. We're like the Board of Selectmen, you kind of know anytime you go to has that, but you may not know this is the structure for Auburn's Public Library if you're fairly
Sure.
new to things.
With,
That's where my thoughts.
yeah, sure.
But
Again, with the caution that, again, there's a risk in this as well of creating expectations that if we put out a survey, people respond to the survey,
Of course.
they expect there'll be action, and we can't deliver action. So it's just a
And
risk. But I think if the value of it outweighs the risk, then
Right.
it makes sense.
And I said that last time we had a meeting that we can put that clearly as a prescriptor at the top before you're filling this out. We just want to gather your information, your insights. We want to understand more how you use the library. This is not for any potential
Well, that's
action.
how
Like
we
we
did
can
the
we can
strategic
verb
plan.
that in a better
We
way.
surveyed the
Because
public.
there's certainly no expectations we want to be putting on anyone who's
Right.
running the operational pieces of the library. Say you have to do Y, but it's a nice way to share that information as well, and a different means to go there. But I do think it's extremely important to put that disclaimer. Because even if someone doesn't read it, we have then done all of our due diligence to make sure it's clear cut and that we're not saying, hey, we're utilizing this for other purposes.
We're just
Absolutely.
asking for input.
It's not a vote, yeah.
And I want to get
Exactly.
away from subjective anecdote. I'm thinking in terms of research data. I mean, if we do nothing with it, at least we know how people, what their
What they're
opinions
thinking,
are.
right.
And when you go back to.
What I'm saying is, in the future, I would like to see the goal. I don't necessarily need to see the goal. The goals are in the plan.
Right.
Recognize when you do hit a goal. And share it with the Board of Trustees
I
and the
agree.
town residents at our meetings. When, in your director's report, you just say, this is goal 5.1, 5.2, 5.3.
Right. That's point made. It was really well made. So my question is, are any other questions about this survey? Because I would really like to get a survey out. Because technically, if I move into another position, this is my last meeting too, and I would like to know that in the time that I spent here, that I made some effort to get the community involved and at least get a feedback from them. So there's two questions. Again, we provided the library hours. The title of the survey is Community Input on the Current APL Hours of Operation. I should have edited that, I apologize, I didn't add. But the only two questions, please provide your input on the current library hours, and then just space. They can leave it blank, they can fill it in. The Board of Trustees values diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do you perceive APL as an inclusive and supportive to all patrons? Question mark. That's it.
I would swap them.
You would swap them,
Like
go
the
back
order.
and forth? Okay.
I just
And I
think
will
I just
fix
think
the
it's
title
clearer
and-
than us. We're
Yeah.
the Board of Trustees, and the question
Yeah.
reiterates the Board of Trustees, and then we're just asking, what do you think? It's not throwing anything straight at someone and assuming
No.
there's something there.
No.
I just think it's both. That might be a little nicer.
Okay.
This is an idea. I got it from from the Boston Public Library when I went on a tour. I love the library because you hand these out to people, they fill it out and they stick it in the window.
Yeah.
Do you want that, Jean?
All right, any other, so what I heard you say, switch them, we do diversity, equity, inclusion. Input is question number one, and any input about current library hours.
Yeah.
And again, there's no value statement there, we just want to get feedback.
I'm just, the language about the Board of Trustees values this. I mean, again, this may reflect the same thing, but the language there, to me, could give the kind of impression that we think others don't value that,
Okay.
that well, we value this. So,
Okay.
I mean, you could make it neutral if in fact it's in the strategic plan.
Okay.
You could, kind of say, the library strategic plan highlights the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion,
It's written
whatever.
right at the
No, I know,
beginning.
I'm just saying.
That's a
like
very
it.
Just
reasonable
take
phrase.
I
parts
totally
from
agree.
it and
I
put it on
totally
Because
the
otherwise,
website.
you could set it up
Highlights.
in somebody's mind as we're saying we do,
Yeah, yeah.
but we don't think those,
Well
whoever
said.
those unnamed
Nope.
those are.
Very
do.
valid.
So it
I
could be
totally
seen as
agree.
a-
Anything else?
And just making sure that before any of the questions, that it's just very clear, this is
The board is seeking feedback. This is
seeking
not
feedback.
for any natural or necessary required actionable items.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's important just to sort of set expectations.
Okay.
It's exactly the way that we did this. We had the SOAR, then we had the community survey, then we had the community survey summaries,
Yep.
then we had community youth surveys,
Right.
we had focus meetings, we had community interviews.
But again,
I
we
mean-
had them one time when we were gathering the strategic plan data, and I think that's a valid point, Suzette. and
Here's
you
all
made-
of them.
You
The
made it well.
community
I agree.
survey, here it is if anyone
Yeah.
wants to see it. The Auburn Public Library's
But-
youth survey.
But it's not a one-shot
It's
deal.
not a one-shot deal,
No,
it's
it's not.
it's ongoing.
Okay.
But
That's my point,
Yeah.
it's ongoing.
And to build on Suzette's point, and actually to reflect something that Jean had said, as we look to next year and our work plan as the board, I mean, if, to the extent to which it's part of the board's responsibility to assess implementation of the strategic plan, there's no requirement that the library director be the one that does
Correct.
that. I mean, the
Yeah.
board itself
Yeah.
could set up a mechanism for assessing the degree to which we believe that the goals of the strategic plan are being met.
But is
which-
that part of our job?
Well, I
Well,
think.
I mean, I don't want to be stepping on the toes of
No.
somebody, she should get the credit if she did it.
Right, but
You
that's
know?
not the point that you're making, is it?
Well, the point that I'm making is if, in fact, the library board of trustees was responsible for producing and then disseminating the strategic plan, it doesn't seem to me legitimate for the board of trustees to do some kind of assessment.
Right.
And in the process of doing that assessment, you would seek input from a variety of different
Right.
sources.
Right.
So again, I think that would be one way of fulfilling, I think, what Suzette is saying in terms of our responsibility towards the strategic
community.
plan, without getting into the weeds
Everyday
of the
operation,
operations or the supervisory relationship between the
Exactly.
library director.
I would beg that we
and
just
town
would have to
manager.
tread cautiously and confirm that whatever we thought might be a potential options to evaluate that would be copacetic across
Right.
what is currently the piece. But I think it's valid, and I think what we've done in the past, having joined just prior to the start of this, was some of those community surveys was our means of like getting that temperature check. But could also be used to
And we
reflect
had to
upon the
switch it.
prior
We
one. So
had
I
to
think that
say,
is
oh,
Sure.
a great way to transition. So if we could get an understanding of what we are allowed to do in that front, that might be a great starting point to help us prepare for that same start again when this one wraps up in the time frame. I think
And we
that's
would
very
be-
valid.
And we would be informed by the reports of the library
Absolutely,
director
yeah.
at the meetings. We'd be informed by our own observations, because
Correct.
in addition to being members of the board, we're presumably all making ourselves familiar with the operations of the library. And again, this goes back to the self-evaluation piece. I mean, the example that I had seen of a self-evaluation of trustees at another library, part of it was the responsibilities of library trustees to make themselves familiar with the operations of the library, so that they could, speak, with some degree of, authority on the issues
Now,
related
was
here.
this what you were talking about when you were saying self-reflect?
Yeah, I think it's part of it is to take seriously what we do as a board of trustees, to
Right.
set goals for ourselves and to hold ourselves individually and collectively responsible towards, meeting our goals.
And I think the library employees should self-reflect too,
Yeah.
so that, it goes two ways. You can't just self-reflect one side.
We're assuming that that's what's happening with that comment, and there's something there going on. But I think what John is saying is the struggle we've had in this whole piece has been we created a strategic plan as was part of our piece, but we've been told we can't really say how did that strategic plan come out. We haven't been able to evaluate those pieces. That was towing a line, and until we know what that line would allow, with your comments just now, then we might be able to see where that comes, because we can't say we were successful. We know we were successfully created a strategic plan that we feel
Right.
good about,
But
but that's where
5
it's coming
years?
the other pieces, and I
No.
think that's where we are
Sure.
cautiously towing that line.
That's fair.
That becomes that struggle, and I think we need to get more clarity on where that could come from
Right.
in order to make sure we're not dipping to a side that's where we don't want to be going, because we don't want to make assumptions that you guys are not doing those pieces, because I'm sure you're doing all of those things and
Right.
having that discussion
Well,
and
that's
having
why
all
I'm
those
saying we
pieces.
can't assess it.
Well,
We don't know
but we- but
everything
we
that's
can.
going on.
We may not be able to fully without, and we certainly wouldn't be able to without input from others, But I think, again, looking at this, I think there are things that it's within our competence to make some determination.
Well, as a teacher, you had to write lesson plans for every lesson that you taught, 9 lessons a day. And you had to list your objectives and where in the math standards they came from.
Yeah, that's still a fact.
It's
Lesson right
it's
now.
required by law.
That is. So I just want to redirect back to this what I heard. I want to say back what I heard, summarize back. So what we would be saying is the board is seeking input from the Auburn community regarding data about diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as we are seeking your input on library hours. We just supply the hours. It's just very succinct. And then any input, going to John's point, the Board of Library Trustees, you said highlights.
Strategic plan, your
Strategic
strategic
plan,
plan
thank you, I
highlights
missed
the
that.
importance of.
You're good. Strategic plan highlights the importance of
good.
diversity, equity, inclusion. Do you perceive APL as inclusive and supportive to all patrons? Do we want to move this to the next meeting, which is July 1? Or do we want to take a vote on it and I'll tighten it up, and I wouldn't send out anything until I sent it out for everybody to look at?
So a couple things. So on the, just to think about that question, I
Yep.
wonder, and others probably have more experience with administering and designing surveys than I do,
Mm-hmm.
but would this be something where something like a 1 to 5 scale would be better than a binary? So you could get people then to kind of say on a spectrum, where do you think it is?
It
I
depends
think that's a
on,
question to
Depends on
the
the
board for all of you.
it depends on the type of data you're looking for.
Right.
I mean, if you're looking for, and I'm married to a sociologist who does survey data. And I do qualitative work. So the question is, do you want qualitative work where we can, basically get in some ways, you get the voice of the community regardless, but in the words of the community member who fills it out, do you want them to just qualitatively type out what they want to say? Or do you really just want sort of
The data,
like
the straight
a
numbers.
number data
Yeah.
point that can be graphed?
Mhm.
And so it depends on what you're looking for.
point.
I think either way works. It just, you're going to get sort of 2 different views.
Well, I guess I was still quantitative, but it was rather than we are or we aren't. We kind of,
We're doing it
we're
or
a
not,
1, we're a
right.
3, we're a 4, we're a 5. You see
Right,
what
and
I'm
you'll
saying?
still get a range.
I thought she just had it as an open text field, that this was all
Right.
qualitative, and that there was no actual
Okay.
radio button selection of any
Okay,
kind.
the way I read it was, I thought it was more.
But you're
Either way
valid
would
if,
work.
if that were
Yeah.
the case.
We
You
can
are,
do drop down, we
You
can
can
do
also
anything
do
you want.
both.
Yeah.
You can say the
Yep.
1 through 5 and get a sense of the range of like on a spectrum what people think, and then you could say, do you have any comments? 9 times out of 10 they'll be like, great.
Yeah.
Or, like on
Everything's
student
fine.
emails, fantastic or everything's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
it may not be.
So that was my
very-
first. My second note, again, on process is if there's a desire to do this in the current board, then I think it has to be done before May 17th.
Okay.
Because on May 17th, this board dies.
Yeah.
And
The new one
on
lives.
May 18th, a new board is born.
Yeah.
And even to the point of the June 1st meeting, within 7 days or whatever of the election, the new board meets, organizes itself, comes up with its schedule, et
That's
cetera.
right.
So we can't commit
Right.
the board that takes office on, whatever, after May 17th to anything. So if we want to do something as this board, I think we have to do it before May 17th.
Okay.
I mean, that's my view. I don't know if others.
I agree
I
with
think
you.
that makes sense.
I totally agree with you, and I like the robust discussion. Anything else on that before can I get a motion to vote on it? To approve it, and I will tighten it up, send it out to the committee. If you approve that that's what we agreed to in this meeting, I establish it as a.
Sorry, I don't think we can do.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you're
We
saying?
can't send something out and get a.
consensus.
Consensus,
We have
okay.
to make a decision
Yeah.
on something in an open meeting.
Right. Okay.
We can,
So do you want to
however,
agree on it
give
with
Mary
the edits,
authority.
or
We
do we
can,
want to
however,
postpone it to a later
Mary?
meeting?
I think it needs to
Mary?
be done today.
Okay.
Mary?
I mean,
Mary?
there might be nobody left. John will be here.
Mary?
So can I have a motion to approve the survey?
I'll make a
Mary,
motion.
can I just say one thing, please?
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll
Do I
second.
have any audio?
JT, and then when I do a roll call, can I please get your vote? Matt Toth?
Can you hear me, Mary?
Because he's
Sorry.
lower.
Can you bring him up?
Can you just turn up
Turn
the
it up.
volume?
Can you repeat that, Matt?
What I was going to say, Mary, is we can give you the authority to do that survey, as we've said tonight, and simply let you go ahead and do it.
Okay.
We don't have to have another vote. And so the answer, I vote positive, yes.
Yes, okay. Erica?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I already got you, John. I'm out of order right now. Jennifer?
Yes.
You said yes, and Mary, yes, so it's unanimous.
No, you didn't say me.
Oh,
Yes.
Suzette, I did it again. I thought I did, I'm sorry.
Well, I made the motion.
Okay, sorry. So it is.
And Mary?
So I just want to go to the next item on the agenda,
Wait, Mary?
which is the next meeting will be offered as a hybrid option. Again, I believe, and I think Jean, you might be able to clarify, I think the hybrid option is open at least until July at this point.
I'm sorry, I don't know the exact
Okay.
date, so I wouldn't
I
want to say.
think it was July 22nd is what I had read, but,
I know that I heard the date, and I think it's July, but I
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
quote me on that, I'm
Okay.
not sure.
But again, I don't think we can set the next meeting.
no, okay,
Right, that's true.
that's a good point. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
So
can
the
I have a
next meeting
second?
is
Second.
at June 1st.
And
The
then,
next
at
meeting will be,
6:30?
no, the next meeting actually will be
It's up to
some,
the other-
within the next meeting will actually be within
Yeah.
7 days of May 17th.
okay,
Because we'll have to have the new board, we'll have to have an organizational meeting in which officers are elected, and then a schedule of meetings for the year is determined.
so I have a motion by Erica, I have second was Jen. Matt, do you agree to adjourn?
Yes.
He does, he's not.
Yes, yes.
Suzette, I won't forget you this time. Yes, I agree, and John?
Yes.
Yes, okay, then this meeting is ended at 7:41 PM.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.